Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Volume 2 of Dorati in London, with orchestras besides the London Symphony. This is with the London Symphony, the BBC Symphony, the New Philharmonia, and the Festival Chamber Orchestra, whatever that may be. And oh my, there's just some wonderful stuff in here. Absolutely, absolutely terrific. I mean, if you've gotten Volume 1, you're going to want Volume 2. And that really sort of does it for, well, it doesn't do it for Dorati, does it? No, because we still have his Phillips recordings, or at least some of them, because some of them were Mercury Living Presents that got later issued on Phillips, but there were his later Phillips recordings with the Concertgebouw, things like, the Nutcracker and, that sort of stuff. So maybe those will show up someday as well. It's entirely possible. There was a Liszt Faust Symphony and oh my, there was some other goodies as well that I could probably think of if I sit here. I've lost. That was the other one. I don't know how many discs it would be. I really don't. But in the meantime, there is this from Australian Eloquence. I have to hold it from the bottom because if I don't, we're going to have one of these disasters. And I'm going to tell you what's in it. Actually, it's all rather neatly listed on the back of the box. But I may want to do a track list just to be absolutely sure, because some of the collections don't list all the individual works. Okay, so let's start, shall we? Some wonderful stuff in here. Bluebeard's Castle, with Imre Palo, narrator, Olga Shonyi, soprano, and Mihaly Shekely, bass. And the London Symphony Orchestra is not a great Bluebeard's Castle. It's okay. I mean, it's all right. It's decent. There are better. I mean, the best one, of course, being the Kertész with Berry and Ludwig, which is probably your best bet for Bluebeard's Castle on Decca. I mean, certainly Dorati knows how it goes. The singing is just a little bit, they're native Hungarians. They certainly have the language. But the actual vocal timbres, I think, leave a little to be desired. Especially, Olga Shonyi is a little bit screechy, shall we say, as a unit. You want to stick her behind one of those doors and just slam it closed. Anyway, Tchaikovsky, Patatik, yay! It's wonderful. This Dorati Tchaikovsky cycle is terrific. And his Tchaikovsky generally, of course, was terrific. And a lot of it's in here. So in this particular one, then we have his second Viennese school disc, which was really good. The Schoenberg 5 pieces for orchestra, Webern's 5 pieces for orchestra, which last 4 minutes and 12 seconds, for all 5 of them. And the Berg 3 pieces for orchestra with the London Symphony. This was quite an adventurous disc for its day. Wilma Cozart Fine was the producer. They recorded it in 1962, and it still sounds pretty damn terrific. Beethoven 5th with the Egmont Overture, The Consecration of the House. This is hot, hot, hot. Great Beethoven. Dorati's Beethoven on Mercury with the LSO, those 3, he did 5, 6, 7, they were really good. Really, really good. Oh, this is so wonderful. There's such clarity to the bass lines, the finale of the 5th, and it's one of the great Consecration of the House overtures. That Mercury, laser sharp sonic frame is just tremendous. Then we've got the Beethoven Violin Concerto with Joseph Szigeti and the Busoni cadenzas, which is interesting. Szigeti was past his prime. We all know that. This is what was it, 61? But it's Szigeti, and Szigeti, however you want to pronounce his last name, he was a major, major, major guy. So what the heck? Oh, yeah. The Chopin Piano Concerto No. 1, you have No. 2 later on. The Nocturne in C sharp minor, and 3 of the 12 etudes, numbers 11, 1, and 2, in that order, with Gina Bachauer and the London Symphony Orchestra. Well, Gina Bachauer was one of those, everyone admires her. She was how would you say it? She was a pianist who didn't play like a lady. She was not effeminate in her performances. And some of them could be really pretty, crude. Is that the word? Sort of, hack and chop and stuff and whatnot. And I think she was not forgiven for the fact that her interpretive predilections were really, really kind of virile. I think that's the word. You know, later on when Martha Argerich came along and started doing that stuff, she legitimized women pianists who could play better than men. Until then, that was something that just wasn't done. And Bachauer was one of those. And so she's always accused of being somewhat insensitive. But you can listen to these and decide for yourself. It's not my favorite Chopin, my goodness, but it's exciting in its way. Liszt, Hungarian Rhapsodies, 14, 12, 9, and 5. These are wonderful performances that have been in the catalog forever, one way or another. The Bartók Concerto for Orchestra with the London Symphony. I think he remade that too with the Concertgebouw, didn't he? Or something like that for Philips. Dorati did, I believe. But this one is better. It's more exciting. It's I think more crisp, and I like crispy, crunchy in the Concerto for Orchestra. So that's great. Beethoven Piano Concerto 4 with Piano Sonata number 9, Opus 14 number 1, again with Gina Bachauer. Same comments apply to all of her work. She was nothing if not consistent. I think her fourth is definitely not something for people who want the ultimate in sophistication and sensitivity of touch, but it's an exciting performance. I mean, you can't deny it that. Stravinsky, Scherzo alla Russe, Fireworks, Tango, 4 Etudes for Orchestra, the Chant du Rossignol, vintage Dorati stuff. Perfectly fine. The Cacciatorian Violin Concerto with Henrik Schering. Oh, that's fun. That's really fun. That's just it's one of those recordings. It was coupled on CD originally, remember, with the Brahms that Wilma Cozart Fine released, I believe. They were together, which was very interesting and made for a nice long playing CD. Well, now it's all by itself again. Tchaikovsky Symphonies 1 and 2. Wonderful Tchaikovsky as always, except the coda of the finale of the first symphony. Oh, Dorati plays what Tchaikovsky wrote. It is still one of the most hair-raisingly vulgar pieces of music. Anybody, I mean, it yeah. I mean, I played cymbals in that. I know just how crude it can be because I did my best to make it as crude as possible. And yeah, he does. He really does. The Third Symphony is all there too, the Polish, which is lovely. And then we've got the Mendelssohn and Schumann Violin Concerti with Schering. I mean, these Schering recordings are classics. There was a Schering box, wasn't there? A Mercury box or something came out as well that had this stuff. The Tchaikovsky Rococo Variations. It's only 15 minutes and 48 seconds here, so it's not too bad. And the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto number 1. It's a 34-minute long CD with Janos Starker, who's always fun. Bartók, the Complete Miraculous Mandarin, and the Divertimento for Strings with the BBC Symphony. Well, the problem here is that the BBC Symphony is not really in tip-top form back in those days. And so there are more virtuosic and exciting miraculous mandarins out there. There just are. I cannot lie. The Divertimento goes better. And then also the Wooden Prince, the Complete Wooden Prince. Well, that's not quite as obnoxious a piece of music, and we have the London Symphony for the Wooden Prince, so it comes off better than the Miraculous Mandarin. Chopin, Piano Concerto number 2, the F minor Fantasy, again with Gina Bachauer. I Jed reviewed all the Gina Bachauer stuff for us on Classics Today, and I refer you to him for the highlights of these things. I mean, it's good to have this stuff in here, but there was a separate Bachauer box, like I said. So if you didn't get the Bachauer box, it might be more fun to have this stuff in context with all the other Dorati stuff, because then it's kind of a bonus. Darius Milhaud, Le Boeuf sur le Toit, the Francais Concertino in G for piano and orchestra, Georges Auric Overture for orchestra, and Eric Satie's Parade with Claude Francais and the London Symphony Orchestra. This is a terrific disc of French bonbons, some of them quite unusual. Haydn, Symphonies 59, The Fire, and 81, with the Festival Chamber Orchestra. What a curious thing before Dorati went on to do his big Haydn Symphony thing. But as I pointed out in the last box, which also had a couple of Haydn symphonies, including the Farewell and some other stuff, he was always good. He was really good in this music, so nothing to worry about. Mozart, Overture to Lucio Silla. Well, that was a rare thing to hear in 1960-something. When was this? What's the year? oh, here it is, 65, 62 and 65. Two marches and another, like a little allegro and another march and a minuet. I mean, it's really unusual Mozart. And three German dances and the Marriage of Figaro overture. A fun Mozart disc of unusual little sniglets with one famous overture anyway. Brahms, Symphonies 3 and 4 with the LSO. I like Dorati's Brahms. It's exciting. It's transparent. He doesn't screw up the third. Really, there are some really fine performances in there. There really are. Bartók, music for strings, percussion, and celesta with the LSO, and the Sonata for two pianos and percussion with Geza Frid and Luctor Ponce pianos with the London Symphony Orchestra percussion. Well, at least they don't do the concerto. They do the sonata. And that's a good performance. The music for strings, percussion, and celesta, it's interesting. I don't think Dorati ever really had the measure of it. He recorded it several times, and it always strikes me as just not savage enough, not biting enough. This may be his best recording of it. I think it is his best recording of it, actually. But, Schulte was going to come along with the London Symphony and do this about the same time, and his performance is much better. It really is. Much as, people like to make comparisons one way or another. But if you're going to be objective and fair, and you listen to the two, Schulte is the guy with the LSO. At that point. Beethoven 7. Yay! Oh, it's great. It's just great. It's up there with the 5th and the 6th that we've already talked about. The Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto with Henrik Schering. This is a one disc, CD 25. And it's very, very good. I mean, Schering's wonderful, and he was at the top of his game for all of these recordings. And then these are wonderful. These are classic, iconic recordings. The complete Tchaikovsky orchestral suites with the new Philharmonia. And, when Dorati did these, nobody was touching these pieces. And they were the reference recordings, and they remain the reference recordings. They are wonderful, absolutely wonderful performances, brilliantly recorded. Other people have done them since. I don't think anyone's done them as well. I don't think anyone's as colorful or as clear or as rhythmic or as fun, just sheerly enjoyable as these performances. They're tremendous. CD 28, the Faya Harpsichord Concerto with Raphael Pugliana, conducted by Charles Mackerras. Yeah. And then we have Julian Orbon, Tres Cantigas del Rey. What beautiful, beautiful little work. Tiny work with Heather Harper and Raphael Pugliana and the London Symphony String Quartet under Dorati. So that's where Dorati comes in. Then we've got some more Orbon, his Partitas by Pugliana. Orbon's a great composer, by the way. If you don't know your Orbon, he did, some of his music was recorded on Dorian, his Concerto Grosso for string quartet and orchestra, and his Tres Versiones Sinfonicas, which is a masterpiece. Absolutely beautiful. There's another disc of some of the same stuff on Naxos. You should listen to his stuff. He was a typical Spanish composer. He wrote like 4 pieces of music and then dropped dead. Some of it's lost. There was a symphony that he wrote. His style is Stravinsky / Copland in Spain. And it's incredibly enjoyable. It's wonderful stuff. We also have, Bartolomeo de Selma y Sala Verde, Canzona a Fa Quattro, Sopra Battaglia. This is early music and stuff with Raphael Pugliana doing harpsichord and David Monroe, recorders and dulcian, and like early music people with Stephen Whitaker, percussion, and that's the last disc. It's only here because it has this one tiny piece, this Orbon piece with Dorati. The other stuff is Mackerras, and then just the Raphael Pugliana and David Monroe doing their thing. It's a great disc, early Spanish music and whatnot. So yeah, it's really nice that they included the whole thing and not just the Dorati bit. And that, my friends, was disc, 25 or so? It tells us how many discs are in here. Yes, 28, pardon me. That was disc 28, and that's the rest of the Dorati London Symphony stuff. Now, it's funny. It's very, very funny. It's not what you think it is. Dorati was Hungarian. You think he was going to do all the Hungarian stuff, the Bartók stuff, really well. I don't think the Bartók stuff in here is all that special. I mean, the Bluebeard's Castle, the Miraculous Mandarin, the music for strings, percussion, and celesta, so-so. Concerto for Orchestra, Wooden Prince, very good. But I'd much rather hear his Beethoven, which is fabulous, his Brahms, and, of course, the Tchaikovsky. That's what you really get this thing for. And all the concerto accompaniments are lovely with Schering and all that. The Gina Bachauer stuff, which is fun to have. It's you have to listen and let the music tell its own story. Do not prejudge. you may be in for some surprises. So, another fine set, obviously a mandatory acquisition if you got volume 1 of this, or if you don't have the big Mercury Living Presence boxes that have everything with this stuff mixed in. Just go for it and enjoy. Keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.